Hey everyone, just wanted to get a quick little video note out to you to have a chat around how our church is responding to COVID-19 at the moment. We had a board meeting a couple of days ago, and obviously it's a pretty interesting time at the moment and lots of things are changing, so there might be a number of responses that come out as that happens, but certainly want to get a position for you right now. I think it's really interesting that we've been going through the book of Acts, and one of the things that we've already been studying is how those early believers, the church in its early days, literally just met each other's needs and were caring for one another. And so if we're thinking about things we can put in action from what we've been learning, we've got a great example of that right now. So that's certainly something that we want to be thinking about. I think as well, we need to make sure that during this time we are people who respond with prayer, that we are people who respond with faith. We know that Jesus is Lord and He's got this, and to remain focused on Him. But I also want to be people who respond with care for one another and care of those around us. And one of the great ways we can do that is obviously through practical love. We feel pretty blessed at the moment that our church is probably already set up in a way where we're used to kind of video content and can find a way to help with that, and the life space context is so good at caring for one another. But there are some things we're going to have to change, particularly because the government has obviously said that gatherings of over 100 people can't happen, which is going to affect our Sunday services. So just wanted to kind of go through that in a bit of detail now and explain what we're doing and why, and then the newsletter's got a whole bunch of details, and probably good just to keep checking in on the newsletter and Facebook group and things like that to see what we're doing as things change. The first thing relates to, I guess, life space. At the moment, while that regulation of meeting is set at 100, we'll continue to meet as life space. If that was to go below 30, we might need to look at that, but for the moment we will meet. We actually think, as it's always been, life space is the first port of call for care in our church, and probably now more than ever is the time that needs to happen. So the way that's going to work is if your life space leader is obviously prepared to have people in the home, and it's their choice, then we'll just meet as we've been normally meeting. There'll be the usual video and things like that. The only thing we'd ask is that if you someone that has either had flu symptoms or someone in your family, or if you've returned from overseas travel in the previous 14 days, or if you know you've been in contact with someone that has a confirmed case of COVID-19, then in that situation you stay at home. But what we are going to do is the LifeSpace video that normally gets played at LifeSpace, we'll make that available to everyone on a Sunday. So if you need to stay at home for those reasons and watch it, you can. And we're also starting to talk to our LifeSpace leaders around how we might get video content going, so you can dial in live and do that virtually, either if you can't make it or on the off chance we do have to cancel LifeSpace at some point in time. The other thing with LifeSpace, I guess, that's really important that, again, we've just launched, which is great timing, is reminding you of the local giving grants. Now, our heart behind that was that people, it's not really a whole of LifeSpace thing. It's just if you or someone you know needs a small grant, maybe $50, $100, a few $100s, you can apply for that, and your LifeSpace leader has the authority just to release those funds. And for them, that's up to $1,000 in any given year. The way that you do that through the newsletter, there's a link there to a form that you fill in, and as soon as we've got that, it'll get directed to your LifeSpace leader and they'll manage that on your behalf. But we genuinely think this is a great way to be able to support people, both in the church and those that you're connected to. And we don't want to see anyone go in need, and so please do not be afraid to ask for that money. It's what it's there for. Depending on how long this goes for, we're aware that there may be some people that get in really difficult situations of losing jobs and things like that. And as a church, we want to be here to support you through those times. We are in this together. So again, that mechanism's already set up, and I think something that you might want to consider utilising. The next thing we need to think about is the local community outside, which was an event we had planned for on our 5th Sunday. That's obviously not going to be able to go ahead. It's got more than 100 people attending, so will be cancelled. What we're going to do instead is, in LifeSpace this Sunday, we're going to have a chat around, well, that's an outreach weekend that we'd set aside. Why not have a conversation in LifeSpace around, in this time, what are some things that we might be able to do? Like, simply one idea I've seen floating around is people putting in little cards to their neighbours' letterboxes saying, hey, we might not have met, but my name's so-and-so, this is my number. If you're stuck at home or need help with anything from groceries to whatever it might be, feel free to give me a call and I can help you with that. So simple, but an idea that we might be able to kind of do. So we're going to chat about those ideas and we'll encourage you on that fifth Sunday to get out and do something like that if you're comfortable. The other thing we're going to do is at 10:30, we'll put on a live feed for what will just be a pretty short devotion. That day will be 10-15 minutes, which as a family you can dial into and listen. You might even want to have a family around for something like that and do it together. So you will have some kind of input from us. Part of that is that for our Sunday services, we're going to have to do that all the time for the moment. So this is an opportunity to kind of trial that technology. We're just working out whether we'll do that via Facebook or YouTube. So just stay tuned to find out how you connect to that. And I guess that leads us to our Sunday services. At the moment, we won't be able to meet. So on the first and third Sundays, we'll be at 10:30 putting on a live service effectively. We'll just be recorded in our home. But we're going to invite maybe Steve and Joe and Dan and Millie and maybe Jared and Lisa at different times to come and join us, and we'll kind of chat on the couch and do that. The idea over 20 or 30 minutes is to give you the ability to have a worship context, a prayer context, and then some sense of message or teaching. Again, you can just do that as a family, or if you're comfortable, maybe you could just invite another family to come round and do that together. But we just think it's really important to maintain meeting together, even if it's virtually through this time. Staying connected at the moment is a really important part of how we care for one another. So the Sunday services will be live. There's a bunch of other things that we do throughout the church, so beach chaplaincy, our youth ministry, our intercessory prayer group, and these things. If you have a look in the newsletter attached to this video, it'll give you a perspective on what's happening there. So look, the last thing I guess I wanted to do is just read over you in the church, just an excerpt from Psalm 91, which I think is just really important for us at this time. Staying connected, caring for one another, loving one another is really important, but knowing that Jesus is Lord and He's front and center of everything that we do, and He's why we gather, and this verse pertains to that. So let me just finish by sharing this with you, and then we'll sign off from there. And Psalm 91 says to us, "He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. For He will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with His pinions, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and buckler. You will not fear the terror of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in darkness, nor the destruction that wastes at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only look with your eyes and see the recompense of the wicked. Because you have made the Lord your dwelling place, the Most High, who is my refuge. No evil shall be allowed to befall you, no plague come near your tent." And it goes on. I'd encourage you to read that and spend some time thinking about that. But look, we love you guys. We're in this together. Feel free to reach out to your Life Space leaders or connect with us if you've got questions or concerns about that. And we'll continue to be in touch with how things are unfolding over the next few weeks and months. Bless you.